Well. Welcome. Welcome to another Rise and Thrive, where we are rising out of our financial slumps and thriving in financial freedom. I'm your
Yeah.
host, Dr. A.D. Burns, and my co-host, Brother Minister James Jones. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good, Pastor. I'm doing real good. I'm doing real good.
Good. Listen. We have had some really exciting rise and thrive moments over the last few weeks, and I'm just really excited about the comments that we've been receiving, as far as people just actually getting it, and they're seeing change, they're seeing improvements. And I know I always talk about my improvements that I've made as a result of Financial Fridays, but sometimes I think people expect me to be able to say that, and they don't realize that, you know, we all have certain areas in our financials and our finances that we could improve to reposition us or to better position us for financial freedom. And a lot of times people think you get, because you got a lot of money coming in, that you're financially free. And that's not true.
Yeah.
You can have a lot of money coming in, but if a lot of money is going out and you still not free to be able to make the choices or make the moves that you want to make or need to make, and even though you may have a lot of money coming in, you're still not financial free. What's your thoughts on that?
That's the old American adage right there.
Is that
Everybody trying to keep up with the Joneses. So everybody, even if you got $1 million, you see Joneses that got a $2 million. So you're living in your house and you like, man, I want to do what they doing, not knowing that they may be struggling just like everybody else. It's just an old rapper once said, more money, more problems. And that's essentially the case, that just because you have more money, if you don't put yourself in the right financial vehicle or have the right financial literacy, you'll be in the same problems no matter where we are. So, so
well,
as
that's
funny,
important. That's
yeah,
important to note, because what you just said is that no matter where you are on a financial scale, whether you have millions or multi-millions coming in, or whether you just got a few hundred coming in, if you don't have financial literacy, if you don't understand how money works, if you don't assign money, then you can be just as much trouble on any level, even though you may have finances or money flowing through.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing is that they always talk about that to the average football player, is that they got 4 years, but in that 4 years that they playing football, they made $10 million. The lifetime of people that it would take to actually work a job and make $10 million, right? We're talking about generations of lifetimes, but somehow
Yeah.
they can play a whole year,
Hmm.
and then when they leave, they're bankrupt within another 4 years. That means in a total of 8 years, they spent through $10 million. But the same is true if you take a person who never had a job, who never worked, who never had any financial literacy, and a mom and dad gave them a company that was thriving. Well, that person who doesn't have the business understanding, they're
Hmm.
going to be in the same plight not too many days.
Okay.
The Bible is really big on, it's the foolish people who squanders money. The Bible is really big on, let those who are wise treasure those things that are wise, because those who are wise will accept criticism. Those who are wise will accept chastisement. Those who are wise will accept rebuke,
Hmm.
because those are the things that one must understand in order to continue to be wise. Uh,
And that's the big difference right there as well. I'm now trying to get on our page so I can see the comments on there. I see Lady B tune in. She say, "Hey, grinders,"
oh
and
yeah.
she's already saying that's a good word. And so we need to have your opening statement, because you usually said to all my grinders out there.
Oh yeah. Hello, everyone, and good evening to all my grinders out there. I tell you, dude, this was about, man. It's all about iron sharpening iron, And just
Okay.
because people can, just the funny part is that they hear me speaking, but they still don't know that I'm still going through all the struggles. And although my struggles may be different, they're still struggles. I haven't perfected everything that I'm doing. I'm
Mhm.
going through, even though I may have less money than some, more money than others, I'm still just as average as everybody else until I have perfected financial literacy.
Mhm.
Always a training. I
Yeah.
think the best way to put it is an amateur is training is training so they can get it right. But a perfectionist or a mature person is training so they don't forget. And that's where I'm at. I'm training so I will never forget financial literacy. I'm training so I never forget my ones and twos because it's always the basic principles that once they unravel, everything else falls underneath. It's nice to have a skyscraper, but if you don't have foundation, it's still going to crumble. No matter what you do, it's going to crumble.
And that's the key. That's the key right there, is having principles to live by. And I'm not promoting my principle to live by book, but having principles to live by. You have to settle on certain principles that you're going to follow, regardless of what type of weather or what type of situation, circumstance, or condition that you're in. That there are certain things that you're going to always do, and there are certain things that you're not going to do. And so principles are so important, because without principles, you're going to experience more problems. I think principles keep us safe. Principles give us boundaries and parameters that we're going to work within. And a lot of times people sacrifice their principles for feelings, or you know mainly it's feelings, because they think, emotionally or whatever, they're gonna gamble, with, they're gonna try something or whatever, and they forsake those principles. You get in trouble every time when you don't go by principles.
Yeah, and people be surprised how often. And I want to tell everybody, it happens to me too. I'll be doing something, and I'll be doing good, and I'll be on my way, and then I'll slip up just like that. I'll just slip up, and somebody will be like, "Well, don't you teach this?" Yeah, I teach it. I can also I can also teach you all the 10 commandments. Does that mean that I'm going to abide by all the 10 commandments, or the 215 commandments, or the 16 commandments, or all the moral laws?
Yes, that means that you're gonna abide by them. That's right. Good answer. Yes, that is correct.
Or does it mean I will try? I will attempt to. I wake up every day and be like, God, this is me.
Okay.
Help me get through this day. Make this day my daily bread. Let these concerns of today be the ones that I am concerned with, because I don't need worry for tomorrow. I got enough worry for today.
Right.
I don't need to struggle for the future. I just need to make sure that today I am doing everything that I need to do.
Hmm. Okay.
And even though I do want to be perfect, I promise you, I want to commit everything that God tells me to do. I want to do it all to the umpteenth degree of right and perfection. But I do slip,
Okay.
and that's the big thing that we always gotta drive home, is that these rules work, the principles work. The only flaw is us.
Yeah.
But as you stumble, don't fall off. Don't get discouraged.
Right.
Just know, even the best of us have fallen. Only
Mhm.
one man has ever been perfect, and guess what? It was Jesus. So if you ain't Jesus, you gonna stumble. But in that stumbling, I the same thing Jesus said to Peter: when you get back to your brethren, strengthen your brethren.
Yeah.
That's how we become stronger. Is that we do stumble, and we do have to hold each other accountable. So when we come to the realization of what we did, we can strengthen the brethren.
Yeah. And that's so important. And I think that's one of the main things that's missing in the world today, is the whole idea of allowing someone to hold you accountable. And I think, even when I deal with a lot of my colleagues, oftentimes they are, you can't, they don't receive, you know, critiquing, or it's like, none of us are born with everything You know what I mean? But it's important that we understand that, you know, iron does sharpen iron, and it's important to allow people to speak into your life and hold you accountable. You know, that's so important. We have Clearly Thinking online today. What's up, Clearly Thinking TV? All right, we got some big timers in the house. She says, "Good evening. I've been making small adjustments. My goal right now is saving for the CD and putting small amounts on my stock."
Oh yeah.
Very good, very good. And so James, you know, she's saving for her CD and she's putting small amounts on her stock. And so, you know, we talked about those CDs,
Yeah.
and you know, I don't know how you find which CDs are the best when it comes to yielding the interest, you know, because you have some as 4, and I think you might, I don't even know if you have some at 5 nowadays, but there were some at 5. What's the highest you can get on a CD right now in most cases?
The highest I've seen for Wisconsin was a 4.5. It may be like 4.71. I think those are the two that I've seen that was the highest.
Okay.
But just to let people know, when you're talking about that 4.5 and that 4.7, yes, there are differences, but the differences aren't as big as somebody may see.
Hmm.
So the goal is to make the habit. So what she's doing is right. The habit is I'm going to save up, start a CD, and then from that CD is going to grow. When that CD matures, boom, now I got more money to put into the stocks,
Hmm.
because the stocks have the best opportunity in terms of accessibility. So when you talk about the savings account versus the CD, the savings account is the lowest. You get the lowest interest. Then come the CD, you get like a medium percent interest, and then
Hmm.
you got stocks. Now stocks is high risk, high reward. So it depends on where you go in that stock to see if you're going to do a higher risk or a lower risk. But as big as the risk is also the big of a possibility of a fall.
Okay.
But
Now,
that's the beauty of stocks.
now, when you were just talking about the CD and then the stocks, you almost seemed like you were saying you put it into the CD and then it spins over to the stock. But is there a certain way you do CD come first, stock come first, or does it
Oh,
matter?
I was talking about Clear Channel's point of view.
Hmm.
So one may precede the other. So my biggest thing of a savings account is a savings account is there to build an investment vehicle. So
Okay.
the reason why you use a savings account, so for lack of a better vocabulary for right now, your savings account is a holding account for your money.
Okay.
From your savings account, then you move on. So let's say you said, I want to open up a business and the EIN costs $130. Well, then you put that into your savings account. And once you reach 130, you take the money out and you open up your EIN.
Okay.
Hey, I want to do a CD. Well, the CD costs $500. Savings account, you go up to $500. And in some cases, you got to go to 520. Some cases, you got to go to 505 because the savings account has to have a balance in it. So whatever that minimum balance it has to have, you get up to the level that you need, and then you move the money over and open up your CD. If you was to do a stock, the same thing. Hey, I want to open up a couple of stocks. Well, the stocks are about $200 or they're $25. You save that amount from in your savings account and you move that over into the next investment principle or the next investment instrument or vehicle. The goal of a savings account is to save until, I think that's the best way to put it, is saving until. A savings account is never something that you should just be hanging on to because of the fact that you're not making money off the savings account and you're losing money due to inflation.
Okay. All right. And so then the savings account being your entry level, where you store your money or park your money till you build it up to assign it to whatever it is for. You know,
Correct.
so
Yes.
when we talk about, you know, the uh, stocks,
Yeah.
you park it in your savings and you save it up into whatever that stock costs, and then you you purchase the stock.
Correct.
And then the CD, you save it up until you have that amount for the CD, then you move it. But it's
Yeah.
never designed to just let your money sit in a savings forever with no activity, because then you're losing money because of inflation. So tell me, what does that mean? You're losing because of inflation.
Okay. So right now, inflation. If I get the numbers, if I don't get the numbers spot on, forgive me. But right now, the inflation is anywhere between 1.5% and 2%. That's inflation. Your average savings account is at 0.5. So every month that your money is not active, you're losing 1% essentially.
Okay.
So the goal of a savings account is that if I make $500 and it takes me 3 months to make it, I lost 3% of the money it was taking to make. But once you put it inside a CD, you'll make it all back and then some.
Okay.
Because your that CD is a 5 or 4% CD, so you're making that money back. If you was to take that money out of savings and then put it in stocks, stocks have a right now stocks are about 5%. So if you're aggressive or modest, if you put inside of a mutual fund, they're pushing. Some are pushing about 5, some are pushing a little bit more, some are pushing a little bit less. Okay, but you're making more than inflation. If you take your money and you put it inside a savings account and you're just letting it sit there so it can rot, you're actually losing money because over time you're losing that percentage of money because inflation is always going higher.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good.
Now, it's a whole lot of other stuff that if people want to get more advanced, like the cost of living is increasing by almost 20%. You
Mm-hmm.
have the cost of a vehicle, food, all that stuff is increasing drastically. So the way to stay ahead is to have your money make money. Everything needs to be assigned.
Okay.
So I do like her idea of assigning her, making small adjustments now, so she can assign her money later.
Okay. So we have been talking about, the whole idea of tracking where you are, and been talking about knowing where you are. And I, I believe I wrote it down. You said that if you don't write it down, you are less likely to fulfill it.
Yes.
And so, the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain so you can run with it. And I have learned over time that clarity causes acceleration. So when you have something that's clear of what you're doing or what you're trying to do, it causes acceleration. And so it's so important to get, the Bible said, all that getting, get understanding. And you may not be able to understand the totality of everything when it comes to finances or even everything that we're talking about, but you grab that piece that you can and you start working that piece. And as you work that piece, then it'll open you up with other desire or questions or hungry to know something else. And then you just continue down the path that way. And so knowing where you are is so important, because it'd be very difficult for you to get to any place that you desire to go if you don't know where you are. And so in order to do that, James, out of his kind heart, created an assessment form that had the formulas already there. All you had to do is plug in the numbers,
Yes.
and you plug in the numbers, and the total amount automatically for you. And so it's a very powerful tool to use so that you can begin to see where you are. And so we've had that, I believe, the last couple of times in the chat as a link. And so let's go back to that. I believe that's where we're going tonight, ain't it, Mr. J?
Yes.
And so
Yep.
let's go back to that, and there it is in the link. And so you can go in the link and just hit on, you know, hit that link, and you can get that assessment form. And so we're gonna go over that assessment form again. because it's so important that you know where you are, and so that you can know what adjustments need to be made in order for you to be able to have a clear understanding of what it is you need to do in order to get to where you need to go. And of course, it's just a form. You have to have discipline, and you will have to have a desire to want it to work. And as James was talking about earlier, if you mess up, you don't give up because you messed up. You get back on, you get back on the horse. You know what I mean? If you fall off. Tiffany is joining us tonight. How you doing, my sister? Good evening to you as well. And so going in the chat there, hit that assessment form, and let's talk about that a little bit, Mr. J.
Yeah. Okay. I actually got it in one of my slides. I'm actually looking for it now.
Okay, well, start where you are with your slides.
Oh, gotcha. Like always, I want to say good evening, all my grinders. And we'll be going into the assessment form now. Okay. So with that, this is the assessment is where's your income? What are your expenses and how to organize? So this is the assessment. This is obviously small. So if you got to make it a lot larger, I think I got to make this larger myself. So
just a little bit, just a tad bit right there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it looks a lot different when I do it versus when I see it. So,
but if you clicked on the assessment, and I don't know.
Yeah, if you click on the assessment, you'll see it.
Computer, if you on a phone, I'm not sure how you'll do it.
Okay, but I can actually walk you through it.
So, you say you can do what?
I can walk everybody through it.
Okay, so yeah, so if you can't do a dual screen or split screen, and we're going to walk through it, and then you can go back and look at it, and you can always go back and look at the replay. Tiffany says, "I am amazing." All right, Tiffany. Yes, I am amazing. I love it. Amazing. Good word. Yes. All right, Mr. J, take us away.
So I am always looking at something and trying to do my tweaks to it to make sure that it fits the right paradigm that I'm in. And that's the same thing for everybody else. Even though this is a formula, you got to make it fit you. What does your rent look like? What does groceries, car loan, car maintenance, cell phone, how do all those things tie in? So if you was to do that these are all the debts that you're needed. I believe I also added in electronics. And then I added in the cost of a school teacher. So if you make it bigger, you'll see that it says school teacher, 2 paychecks as a school teacher is $1,400. And then it brings in a subtotal of the needed debt as $150. Because a lot of people are on a single income source. So that means you're getting paid every 2 weeks. And I do apologize again for the font being so small. I will update it and make it bigger next week so everybody can see it. So, and then for that, I did the same. I used the same information is that if you're a school teacher and you got 2 paychecks coming in at $1,400, then here go the things that are an additional. So you got your 2 credit cards, which are $60 and $80. And then your additional income is an Uber driver. If you guys remember a couple of weeks ago to a couple of months ago, we talked about the additional income in which one can have in order to bring in more money. Once you get those 2, which is your school teacher pay plus your Uber driver, the Uber driver made $600 this month. That may not sound like a lot, but remember, every little bit counts. As an Uber driver, you may not do 20 hours. You may be doing 4 hours. You may be doing 8. Your goal is to have a secondary income source. In this case, it was an Uber driver. That brings your total down up to $610. Okay. And the goal for a guy named James was to save $200. So right now, if I'm saving $200, that is what I'm saving. Now, the reason why I want to point that out, because if you take off the Uber driving for $600, that means when I get done paying all of my regular debt plus all of my credit card debt, I only have $10 left, which will put me in a bad situation. And the reason why it'll put you in a bad situation is because with all of that debt, you still haven't taken in consideration any of your tithing or offering that you may be inclined to do. Because tithing and offering in my situation is a must. It's not a bill, it's a must. It's something in which I want to always give first is my tithes and my offering. Okay? So, you always want to make sure you're doing the right thing. And when I look at the screen it looks so small here, so I can only laugh and say, ah.
Well, no, that's fine. I mean, it's good because you added a couple different things onto yours, and so they can always go back and look at it. But just understanding how important it is to be able to list those things in order to come up with those numbers, and so we're good. We're good, and like I said, they can always go back and check it out.
Yeah. And the reason why I did that is because when I seen the original assessment, I said, man, this is nice, but it's missing something. So I just kept messing with it until I started seeing the things in which I didn't see before, which was how much does the school teacher, how much money do I bring in? How much money does a secondary income bring in? Um, and then the total. Yes, I am in full agreement.
Okay.
God, giving to God is a must in my book. It's always a must, and I must stress that enough that people don't understand how they make ends meet. You make ends meet by tithing and by offering and by doing what God tell you to do. That's how you make ends meet. How do you succeed? By doing what God told you to do and giving. The more you give, the more you get back. Now I can't explain the math to you. I can only tell you that there's a miracle that's always happening, and that miracle will continue to happen. So,
Well, the thing is that, a lot of times we're just too smart. We're too smart for our own selves, and we're so logically stimulated that oftentimes we think that, you know, things has to be to our understanding. And, people say silly things that, if I can't see it, then I don't believe it. But technically, you have a brain, but you don't see that, but you have a brain, unless you go to the hospital and they x-ray it, and then you still don't know if it's yours or not. I mean, they telling you this is yours, you know what I mean? And you got a heart, you can go on and on with that analogy that there are so many things in life that we don't see and yet we believe. When we think about the cell phone waves or even the internet right now, I'm on Wi-Fi. I believe this computer's on Wi-Fi, and how do you pick it up on your phone? So it's a lot of things we don't see, but yet we believe. But when it comes to God, oftentimes our logic kicks in, and then inside we have this thing that's against God that we got through Adam's sin. And right away, when it comes to the things of God, we're dismissing them as, no, that don't make no sense. So we're arguing, well, that's Old Testament, New Testament. Well, even when you look throughout the Bible, you don't see things that make sense. God doesn't do things that make sense. Matter of fact, I'll go as far as to say this: if it can make sense, then it can't be God. You know what I mean? My mind, my finite mind, there's no way my mind should be able to grasp the totality of how God thinks. You know what I mean? And
yes,
so for me to insist that it makes sense is ludicrous. You know what
that's
I mean?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. It's
but
like
there
I
are
never seen.
people who practice it though, you know, they can tell you that it works, you know. And I'm not gonna go into long anything on that. because a lot of times people think I'm supposed to because I'm a pastor, and I don't think that's true. I don't think I'm experiencing God at the level that I experience God because I'm a pastor. I think I experience God at the level of God, um, at the level that I experience Him because I live by faith. And I think that's the most important lesson that we all need after salvation. Once we get saved, and Apostle Hilliard talks about that. Once we get saved, the next most important lesson is faith. You don't need another lesson on salvation once you get saved, but you need lessons on faith, how to trust God, how to believe in the impossible. And so God's financial system, it works. Tithing works, sowing seeds work, and again, I can go into some long conversations, but I won't do that. Listen, we are halfway through our time tonight. Let's take a break for a moment, talk a little bit about the Father's Day. Father's
Oh
Day
yeah,
brunch
yeah.
is tomorrow. Oh my goodness. I wish I would have sent some pictures so you could post them up. I got back in town late last night, and then I was up at the church this morning. I stopped in to pick something up, and I peeked into the room, and boy, I tell you what,
Oh,
uh
it's set up. Oh,
I
it's
wish there
lit.
was a way I could put that picture up there. That room looks amazing. That room looks amazing, and I'm so excited about the Father's Day brunch. Um, what is the title? What is the theme? Something about
Hidden figures, father and son.
hidden father figures, or
Yeah, hidden father figures.
yeah. And so it's sold out, and it's been sold out for a
Yes,
couple weeks
yes,
now.
sir.
And so I stopped in Indiana, and I was talking with someone about the Father's Day brunch, and I said that that's something that we probably need to do annually. The
Yeah.
Father's Day brunch and the Mother's Day brunch. The Mother's Day brunch was very successful, and the
Yes, it
majority of
was.
the people that was there were guests. And I believe that the guest list for the Father's Day brunch, the majority of the people on that list also are guests. And so those are two great events. And so tell me about your excitement level for the Father's Day brunch.
Oh well, my excitement is pretty high. So I got my father coming, my other father coming. I got both my fathers coming. One of my guys told me that he'll be there, so I'm very ecstatic for him. I got my brothers coming. I'm coming, obviously. I was telling my guys I was telling some of my guys out of town. I was like, dude, you got to come here. They was like, what y'all doing? Something big. What you doing? I'm gonna sit at home and watch TV. All right, that's your Father's Day. My Father's Day gonna be pumping.
All right.
I'm ecstatic to go there. I don't really spend a lot of time. So as a guy, I don't really spend a lot of guy time because I'm always running around and moving. So this Saturday, I will actually be sitting down, just talking and just chilling with a bunch of guys, which I normally don't do, and I normally don't have the time to do, or I don't assign that time to do
Okay.
those things. So it's gonna be fun to sit down with two older gentlemen and just kick it with
Just chop it up. Huh?
them. Yeah.
But listen, even though you did make it if you did get a ticket to the Father's Day extravaganza, the Father's Day brunch, you could always check us out on Sunday at 10 o'clock on Sunday on Father's Day. What would be an awesome gift to yourself to join us at 886 North 76th Street for Father's Day. And I am too excited about Father's Day. So um, we talked about the assessment sheet. You went up and down the assessment sheet. And so we saw on there how important it is for us to capture our data so that we can see what's going out, what's coming in. And we talked about Saving count is really save until. It's a place that you park your money as you go forward. And
Yes.
once you reach a certain amount, whatever you're saving for, then you move the money to that for that purpose. And we're talking more about CDs and stocks. And then we talked about everything must be assigned, that we should not have unassigned money. Everything must be assigned. Money works for us. And so um, that's just a recap of the first half. And so as we look at our second half, what you got on your slides? Which one? Because we got
The
a
next
little
one
more we
is
need
to
to cover.
set an accomplishment. So what do you want to accomplish? Now, oftentimes, and that's the benefit about knowing about a savings account. As good as a checking account can be, I think a savings account could be better in the sense that a savings account is set up for you to do something with it. And it's all in how you think about a savings account. If the savings account is how I start my business, the savings account is how I pay my employees, the savings account is how I pay my contractors, the savings account is how I transition to stocks and bonds, how I buy gold, how I buy REITs, how I buy real estate. Everything circulates through the savings account, not necessarily through the checking account. I primarily use the checking account just to pay bills off of and to orchestrate money movements. And I use the savings account to save up to start making those bigger money moves. So it's not that you have a savings account that you don't need a checking, or that you have a checking account and you don't need a savings, because majority of your checking accounts, majority of them are not interest bearing. If you had a savings account and your savings account got more than $1,000 in it, if you saved up more than $1,000 and your baseline for your savings was $1,000, you can transition that savings account into a money market savings account or a money market checking account. It has all the same features of a savings account with some additional or a limited number of checks, just like a checking account, and it has the ability to give you more interest than your regular savings account. The goal is still to take that and then to assign money where it is supposed to be. And that's what you need to know. What do you want to accomplish? If it's to have a mutual fund or to open a CD, you want to make sure you're assigning it. In my example, it was to save $200. So how does that look? Or if you have a secondary job that you're utilizing. Your primary job is to utilize for bills. Your secondary is part of your savings idea so you can hit your or accomplish your goal. So you'll work your secondary job, put that money into your savings account. Once your savings account hit the level it's supposed to be at, boom, the money leaves and now it does what you have assigned it to do.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. I like the way that flows too, because when you really understand that, it's not difficult. It's just a matter of you having that process, and processes you can follow that, that becomes like a SOP, like a
Yeah.
standard operating procedure. That becomes something that you begin to work at, and once you work that process and continue to work that process, then you'll begin to see things begin to happen, because those are principles that you're practicing, and so you just have to continue to work that. So that's a good process. I like that. That's a good, simple process that we could follow. We ought to put that in print. You gonna remember that?
Yeah, I'm gonna remember it really, 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 really well. I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah. I might even give me a shirt that say that. Yeah. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. Let's continue.
Okay. The next one is, once you know what you want to accomplish, then you start assessing your income. Because once you know what you want to accomplish, you need to know how much money you need to fulfill that objective. Because you could say, I want to have a down payment for a house. So if you went to, I'm gonna plug it, it's our housing resource. We did a housing research recently at Jericho. So if you was there and they was teaching you on what it takes in order to get a house, even if you're doing grants or funding, you still have to have some initial money to put down. Plus, it'll be nice if you have money that can fix bills. So when you're doing that, you need to know what your income is. So on the assessment, after you assess what you want or what you want to assign to, you got to know how much money do you need to bring to the table. And that can be done with the assessment tool.
Okay. All right. Okay. Again, it's a simple process. It's a simple process that you could employ so that you could begin to set the goals that you desire. And they shouldn't be lofty goals. They ought to be goals that you actually want to accomplish. And then if you follow that simple process, you will find yourself getting closer and closer to reaching those goals as you continue to follow that process. So you have to practice those principles and follow that process. And I'm telling you, you will see um, manifestation. You will see success. All right.
Yeah. Like I always say, it's not the big leaps. It's the small adjustments, the small steps, small decisions. And as you do these small steps, small adjustments, and you make small decisions, you will see that you are making drastic changes in the way in which you do things. You are accomplished big things because if you wake up every day and you pull 2 inches on a rope, guess what's going to happen? Eventually, you're going to wake up and you're going to see that you pulled a whole football field worth of rope. Wow. Because you're doing something small. It doesn't mean it's insignificant. It just means these are small steps.
That's good. You know, every day pulling 2 inches every day. And before you know it, you'll pull the whole football field. Yeah. And that's a good way to look at it, because oftentimes people look at the football field and they look at how much rope they have to pull, and then they'll become discouraged, and then instead of they won't pull anything, but you gotta look at it, small adjustments, small increments, and that's so important. Okay.
Because the biggest benefit is, let's say you get out there and they want you to pull the football field and you're like, I'm strong enough, I can do it. And then you went 3 days strong and you pull 10 yards. You looking at 90 more yards to do it, and you like, dude, I gotta take a week off. You can take a week off. And they be like, you still gonna pull it? I don't feel like it. Yeah, because you remember how much pain it is. Mm-hmm. But if you wake up and you like, I got 2 inches, and you just do, that's it. I got another 2 inches. You know what? I'm feeling lucky. I'm gonna do 2 inches. I'm gonna do another one for lunch, right? Just doing this, you can pull a whole football field, and you will accomplish that before you even know it.
Right.
Because that's what small adjustments do. Is doing things that are not outside of your boundary. It's things in which you can do and still accomplish your regular day-to-day operations.
Okay. That's cool.
Oh yeah, I always like to be practical because I want everyone to make it. As long as we can make it, that's what happens. Some people are going to make it in 5 years. Somebody's going to make it in 2 years. Somebody's going to make it in 1 month. Somebody's going to make it in 20 years. Does it matter how long it take you to make it, as long as we make it? The promised land was a 3-day trip. It took them 40 plus years to get there. Was it the 40 plus years, or was it the fact that they made it? That was the goal. The goal is to make it. So as long as it may take some of y'all 40 years. Mm-hmm. Hopefully not. Hopefully y'all gonna listen. Somebody can give you a good report. Wink, wink. You're gonna hear a good report, and then you're gonna do what the good report tells you to do, instead of relying on your logic and saying, there's no way God can do that for me.
Right.
Okay. All right, I guess you got 40 years of walking you could do. Well, let's not be in that predicament as a family. Let's pull those 2 inches. Let's listen to a good report, and then let's accomplish what is out there for us to accomplish.
Yes, yes. But listen, James, we got about 10 minutes left
Oh my goodness, man.
in our show today. What we gonna close with?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, okay. We can close with expenses. Expenses is the very next one. Make it quick, fast. Is that expenses? So your expenses is the most time consuming thing that you can go to. Is your expenses? When I say expenses is the most time consuming, I'm saying that because of the fact that when you look over all the things that you do, expenses is something that happens on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
You typically get two paychecks. Some may get one, but you typically get two paychecks. It's every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You can count two paychecks on your finger. Mm-hmm. However, the list of expenses or financial obligations that you assign yourself to, also the list of financial obligations that you fall into just by being an adult and being able to live, right? Rent or mortgage, whichever one you choose, electricity or gas, trash, water. All these things happen just by virtue of being an adult. These are all bills or expenses you must attain yourself to. Then you have all the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I say all the insurance because there's multiple insurances that you must pay for. Then on top of that, all your doctor bills or visits. Even if you don't think you will have them, you do. Just wait a little longer, get a little older. So all these expenses are happening simultaneously throughout your month. And when I say throughout your month, this is not one time a year. I'm talking about this stuff is happening simultaneous throughout your month. Every insurance that you use or don't use is throughout your entire month. Mm-hmm. All of the financial obligations with rent or mortgage, gas, electric, car, loan, all those things happen throughout a course of 1 month. So even though you may have two incomes coming in, you got a plethora of expenses. And that's not including your gym, any of your subscriptions, any of your video games, any of your leisure, any of the things that you just may not enjoy, but you have to, and all of your family members that you need to help. Every family member is a potential financial obligation. Mm. With that being said, your expenses is the biggest point that for me to drive home and tell you, you need to understand and or account for all of those expenses.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a bit. But those are realistic things that we have to consider when we talk about, people that's in our lives that we help. You know what I mean? Yes. And so, but being conscious of it, I think, is what's more important. Is what we're saying today, is being conscious of it, because for me, I still like to use cash, and I'm subject to peeling off dollars. I mean, I was walking through the hotel, and the lady that cleans my room, she's walking around with a happy birthday banner on. And I said, "Oh, today is your birthday." Birthday. So I reach in my pocket and I pull my rubber band off, and I peel off a few of them and give it to her. I went to get some coffee, and I'm just saying, over the course of time, I would spend money in places or on different things, not necessarily conscious of it. And so it's important that you understand that those dollars that's going out are still a part of your expenses. Now I don't know how you necessarily allocate it and have a budget and all that kind of thing for that. I ain't saying that. I'm just pointing out the fact that when you help people, you can spend money, and know that money should be also considered part of your expenses. Mm-hmm. Right? Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
All right.
Now remember, when I did the formula.
Hold up. Let me put this disclaimer. That doesn't mean when you see me out and about She come up to me talking about, Pastor, it's my birthday. Yeah.
But
I'd be like, didn't you just have a birthday last week? All right, come on. What would you give
I got
us?
a bunch of kids. I mean, they have birthdays at least. No, that was the other one's birthday. This is that one's birthday. But the reason I say that because we remember when you talk about the formula. Remember, we have a portion for sanity. So if your heart, if you are a giving person, because some people are gift giving people. Me, I'm a goofy gift giver. Like I am. When I say I'm a goofy gift giver, I mean when I want to give, I just give. I don't really have a lot of restraints on that. Now, the benefit of that is if I'm gonna give you something, I'm gonna give you something. Now I could be turned off, but if I'm gonna give you something, I'm gonna give you something.
Okay.
So I personally gotta make sure that I am putting money aside so I can be just a gift giver.
Yeah.
And when I say, I'm not saying I'm gonna give this person $25. I'm saying, hey, guess what? I got $100. I got $75. I got $66. I want to make. If I come across somebody, I got you.
Yeah.
If I'm going somewhere and I'm eating dinner, right? I'm eating dinner. I'm eating lunch. I'm with my brothers. In a group of my guys that I'm with, somebody may come up short $5-10, or we need to tip. I'm good. I have that additional money already assigned.
Okay.
It's different than if I just went out there and I don't have a dollar to my name, and I'm just saying, "Oh, cool. I'm gonna just put on my credit card. I'm gonna hopefully it's gonna work back." No, I'm not. I'm not going off. Hopefully, I'm going off. I have assigned money as a buffer, and that's what the buffer is there for. And I talk about the buffer a lot in terms of the formula because it's okay to have a buffer. Now, I'm not saying your buffer should be $80 million, but your buffer should be within reasonable of how much your expenses are, because that buffer, that money is still going to be utilized no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So it's better to have all your bills paid, have your sanity, and have a buffer. Because if the buffer isn't used, guess where you can put it? You can put it inside your emergency fund, or you can put it to pay off any of the bills you may have. So having a buffer isn't bad. It's just you have to assign that to be a buffer.
Okay. Yeah. Because if not, you'll begin to come up short. You'll be, giving out of something else.
Yeah.
If you don't account for that. And so that's so important that, we able, when you talk about knowing your expenses and knowing where your income is, that's part of it. And then being able to allocate based on who your personality is,
Yeah.
And so there's, very few weeks, that I will go through where I have not given to somebody in some capacity, over the course of a week. You know what I mean? At least several times a week, I'm pretty much going to give something to somebody, And again, don't be flagging me down, talking about, Pastor, that's that giving, Pastor.
Can I at least see you and be like, hey, Pastor, remember me? Financial Friday.
Well, listen, we are almost out. I was looking at I have two clocks right here. And so the clock I should have been listening at, it says that we have 6 minutes. Oh, you looking at the right clock? You looking at the right clock? Yeah.
I like to assign my time.
Okay, all right. Assigning your time. That's good. Okay. All right. Okay. Touche. All right. When I grow up, I'm gonna be just like you. Well, listen, we're just about out of time on another fantastic Friday, Financial Friday. And that's Elder chiming in. How you doing, Elder? He said more like 2 minutes. So I'm gonna have to get on Elder's case since he on there talking about 2 minutes, because you were saying that we shouldn't have over $1,000 parked in a savings account, because then we're losing money. And so that money should be assigned, and we should be either get a CD or something, but it shouldn't just be sitting there. And so, I'm gonna have a talk with him about leaving money sitting around like that.
Yeah. But you can transition it. So you take your savings account and you transition it to a money market, and then now you're pulling 2, 3, 4% interest.
Okay.
So now, even though it's sitting, it's still doing is doing the bare minimum of what inflation can do. So instead of losing your money, it's flatlining.
Right.
But remember, you're taking that money and you're moving it to other investment vehicles.
Well, I like the 5%. You say the 4-point-some%. You said.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good money markets. Oh, just a side note, you don't have to have your savings account and money market at the same bank.
Okay. Then what about out of town? I was traveling and I saw on the billboard where they had 5-point-something for CDs.
Yes.
And so I'll just call that bank up and say I want to purchase a CD. And they're in a different city.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is the issue that I do have with some people that are more skeptical. Okay. There's a lot of businesses out there, so you can check every business if you're skeptical against the government to see if that's a legit business.
Okay.
So if you're ever skeptical and you be like, 7% for a CD, that sounds kind of high. Check it against the government. There are government agencies that you can Google. You can just Google it and be like, is this a legit agency? Or look up their information to see if a government if they're IRS. I don't do the tax, so Better Business Bureau, AAA Plus, all that stuff could be placed on there. They don't have to be part of the Better Business Bureau. It was with one company I was looking up. All their information was shot. They just had a bunch of emblems on their website.
And
So
all the information was shot. What does that mean?
So the Better Business Bureau emblem they had wasn't real. The Forbes 500 company in 2024, that was not correct, because there isn't one right now in 2024. They also had another emblem certification from CSCI certification, which is like an international certification, but they're not listed internationally. Okay. So I didn't do any business with that company at all. They also had the listing best places to work, one of those emblems, and they're doing that because that's how you get attention. It's just that if you look up this information and if anything come up shot, don't even use them. Like I did it because I was kind of curious. I'm like, okay, they might have messed up on this year, but I looked through everything and they just didn't come up. So if you're skeptical, look at the website, go to see if they are a Better Business Bureau practitioner. If they say they're part of the BBB, you can go to the BBB website and check to see if they're even listed. If they're not listed, then you know it's a scam.
Okay. Well, listen, we're just about out of time. Make sure that you click in the link in the chat there and get that assessment form, and make sure you spend some time with it this week. And on next Financial Friday, if you have any questions or anything, we'll certainly entertain those questions. And so we want to see you thrive in financial freedom. And so no matter what level you are, there is always room for more financial literacy. And so we pray that our time together has been helpful and that you're doing even better as a result of Financial Friday. All right, James, you got 2 seconds.
I will see you all.
All right. Thanks again for tuning in to another Financial Friday, where you are rising out of your financial slump and thriving in financial freedom. We are out of here. Be blessed.
All right, grinders.
All right.